20,000 years ago, Earth belonged to giants. The greatest of them all was the woolly mammoth. It ruled the frozen world for hundreds of thousands of years. Nothing seemed powerful enough to stop them. Until everything began to change. The enemy wasn't stronger. It wasn't faster. It wasn't bigger. Yet somehow, the giant disappeared forever. This is the incredible story of the rise and the fall of the woolly mammoth. Long before mammoths ruled the frozen earth, their ancestors lived in a very different world. Back then, Earth was warmer, greener, and full of life. But nature is always changing. Over thousands of years, the planet became colder. The age of ice had begun. Only the toughest animals could survive. Generation after generation, evolution went to work. Their bodies became larger. Their fur grew thicker, and massive curved tusks became one of nature's greatest masterpieces. The woolly mammoth had finally arrived. Soon, millions of them spread across the frozen world. From Europe to Asia to North America, this frozen world became their kingdom. Some grew over 4 meters tall. They weighed as much as several modern cars combined. Yet despite their size, they lived peaceful lives. Just like today's elephants. Family meant everything. Experienced mothers guided every journey. Together, they crossed a world made entirely of ice. But the mammoths were not alone. The Ice Age was home to some of the greatest animals that ever lived. Every day was a fight to survive. Even the weather could become deadly. Food wasn't always easy to find. Their tusks weren't just for fighting. They were tools built for survival. Even the smallest calves had to learn quickly, because danger could appear without warning. In the Ice Age, every sunrise was another chance to survive. Then, a new species stepped onto the frozen plains. They weren't the biggest. They weren't the strongest. But they had something no Ice Age giant possessed. They could imagine, plan, and work together. Instead of hunting alone, they hunted as one. For early humans, a single mammoth meant survival. Its fur became warm clothing. Its bones became homes. For thousands of years, humans and mammoths shared the frozen world, until that fragile balance slowly began to break. For thousands of years, the frozen world remained unchanged. Then, the climate slowly began to shift. At first, almost nobody noticed. Winter became a little shorter. The ice slowly began to retreat. Rivers grew larger, and forests began replacing the endless grasslands. The world that had shaped the mammoth was disappearing. With every passing century, food became harder to find. And for the first time, the giants faced a future they couldn't control. The mammoths had survived blizzards, predators, and endless winters. But now, they faced something far more dangerous. Their home was disappearing. The great herds became smaller, and smaller populations brought new problems. Many groups became trapped far from one another. At the same time, humans continued spreading across the planet. Every year, mammoths had fewer places left to roam. The age of giants was quietly coming to an end. But the worst was still ahead. No single event wiped out the woolly mammoth. It was the result of many small disasters, happening together. Each year, there was a little less food. Each generation, there were fewer calves. The once endless herds became scattered families. Some never found another herd again. The Ice Age itself was fading away. The giants could no longer keep up with a changing planet. After ruling the earth for hundreds of thousands of years, their time was running out. One by one, the mammoths disappeared from the mainland. But not every mammoth was gone. A few small herds found refuge on isolated islands. One of those places was Wrangel Island. There, time seemed to stand still. While civilizations were rising elsewhere, the last mammoths continued living in silence. Generation after generation, their numbers grew smaller. Eventually, only a handful remained. The age of the mammoth was coming to its final chapter. Then one day, the last chapter finally arrived. Only a few mammoths remained. The giant herds were now only memories. Every new birth became more precious than ever. But hope alone couldn't save the species. Year after year, their world grew quieter, until finally, only one remained. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, the frozen world no longer echoed with the footsteps of giants. The woolly mammoth had disappeared from the earth. But this wasn't truly the end. The Arctic had quietly preserved one of history's greatest secrets, locked beneath the ice for thousands of years, waiting for someone to find it. Then one day they did. Scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. Its fur was still there. Its skin had survived. Even parts of its DNA remained hidden inside its cells. And suddenly, a question no one expected began to emerge. What if extinction wasn't forever? For decades, scientists have searched ancient DNA for answers. The goal isn't to clone a mammoth. Instead, researchers hope to give modern elephants some mammoth traits, traits that once helped giants survive the Ice Age. If successful, these animals might one day live in the Arctic again. Some scientists believe they could help restore Arctic ecosystems. Others believe the risks may be too great, because bringing back the past raises difficult questions. Even though the woolly mammoth is gone, its story is still written across the frozen earth. Every fossil tells another piece of the puzzle. Every discovery helps us understand our planet. The mammoth teaches us that even the strongest species face unexpected challenges, because survival isn't always about strength. Sometimes, it's about adapting before the world changes. Nature has been changing for millions of years, and every species becomes part of that story, including us. The woolly mammoth never knew it was witnessing the end of its world. It simply lived, one day at a time, just as countless species have done throughout Earth's history. Some adapted, others became memories beneath the earth. Yet every one of them helped shape the planet we know today. The story of the mammoth is also the story of change, a reminder that Earth is always evolving, and every generation has a chance to learn from the one before it. Because the past isn't just something we study, it's something that continues to shape our future. The woolly mammoth may be gone, but its story is far from over. Every new discovery reveals another piece of its journey. Because history isn't only about the past, it's a guide for the future. The giants of the Ice Age are gone, but they will never be forgotten. Because as long as we continue exploring, the story of the woolly mammoth will live on.